G'day watchers, welcome back to the channel and to today's review where I am actually featuring yet another piece from Phoibos Watch Company. I have just done the Ocean Master review, and in quick succession here is another one that they have sent me, so thank you again for Phoibos Watch for making this available for this review. Now let's open this box. You've seen this on the unpackaging that I did not so long ago, so you know this is not going to be a big surprise. This is the Phoibos Wavemaster Automatic Dive Watch. PY009A is the designation. So let's get that out of the package and put that box aside there. All right. So this I have been sent a green with no date version, and you know I think this is a fair choice that they've made available to me. This version model also comes in black and blue colors. The black and blue models do come in a date version, but the green dial model only comes in a no date version. So you know I'm not sure why they chose to do that, but that is the range of model variations that they've made available. Now this one, the MSRP is listed as $299 USD, but realistically the usual sale price is $219 USD, or if you use the Europe website, it's 194 euros, and all links to the versions and websites are at the bottom in the description. Now you'll see that I've actually hacked it at the moment. It's not moving. I've pulled the crown out, and that's actually because I want to show you something here. If you look at the second hand, it's pointing directly straight down, you know, at the 6 o'clock position, and just take a look at that hour marker at the 6 o'clock position there. It's actually a little bit off. It's actually not just not quite at the 6 o'clock positions, it's also angled if you look at where that second hand is bisecting it. So that's just something that I've noticed. All the other ones do appear straight to me, but that one, once you notice it, you're not going to be able to ignore it. So, you know, unfortunately, that is a flaw I've noticed. So let's just get that moving. Okay, so for the review, screw in the crown. Yes, it is a diver. It has a screw in crown. So the movement here is the Seiko NH38A, and that is a movement without a date. So there is only a 0 position where when you unscrew it, it's winding the movement, hand winding it. And then the first position is hacking. There's no intermediate position where you would normally set a date, such as in the NH35A. 21,600 beats per hour, of course, 24 joules and 41 hour power reserve, just like the NH35. It does have hacking, as you've seen, and manual winding, as I've mentioned. The case in this version, this model, is 42 millimeters across, and the bezel is ever slightly you know, larger than that, but that's in fractions of a millimeter. The thickness is 15 millimeters, so not unreasonable for this size watch. 22 millimeter lug width and a lug to lug distance of 48.5 millimeters. So, you know, fairly nicely proportioned, maybe slightly on the thick side if you you know, I guess want to pick on one of the dimensions here, but you know, overall fairly nicely proportioned. The top of the case as well as the bracelet is brushed, right? You can see there, and it transitions to polished on the sides, and then the case back is also brushed mostly. You know, the case back, of course, in this dive watch, right, it's called the Wavemaster. It's going to be a dive watch, is a screw-in case back, and you can see the details there. It's pretty nice. You know, I think they do a pretty fair job. You know, Phoibos automatic, water resistant to 1,000 feet or 300 meters. You can see etched along the side there. And with those features, it is rated at 300 meters. You've seen that on the back there. The dial in this case, if you, okay, let me just show you on the lighting that I have here. So you can see there is a sunburst effect, but etched across that is a wave dial, and that's pretty nice. You know, I really quite like that. The markers, as you've seen, you know, when I showed you the details, are applied markers. It does have an orange second hand, and they've applied Super Luminova dark blue mostly on the dial, and then C3 along the bezel marking. So it's a nice differentiating feature there with the lume on this watch. A sapphire crystal, which is flat with internal anti-reflective coating. And then the bezel, of course, is a 120 click unidirectional bezel, just like with all the Phoibos dive watches that I featured on this channel. In this case, the insert is actually ceramic, so good on them for putting in that with numerals in the compass positions, except for the 12 o'clock position, which is actually the triangle. So that's the main timing marker there. Now, note, as you've seen this watch, this is the first dive watch I've featured from Phoibos, which is essentially an original design, and that's what I understand this to be. It doesn't appear, in my knowledge, to be directly homaging any particular other watch out there. So, this is an original design from Phoibos, so good on them for taking the step for putting this out, apart from those homages that they have done before. This pleasingly is an original design. Now the bracelet you've seen is, it is possibly the best part of the watch. It is absolutely a solid engineer style bracelet. That's what I'm going to call it. That's what they call it. If you know where the term engineer bracelet comes from, I would like to know, because I actually am not sure where that term comes from. But of course, Codestrap is a company that is famous for making super engineer and engineer bracelets, and that's something I've appreciated, and that's why I really quite like how this bracelet has been done. The clasp, again, is the typical stamped metal, pressed metal that Phoibos provides. Again, these links are relatively solid, but the keeper here, as well as the actual clasp itself, is stamped metal. Okay, so consistent with what they've put out, not super solid, but push button release, it serves its purpose. All right, so let's just do a quick on the wrist there. All right, and there we go. All right, with that engineer bracelet, Phoibos class, 15mm thickness on my 17cm circumference wrist. All right, so what have I liked about this? Well, I think the biggest thing is original design at last. Really appreciate that they've taken the step, had the courage to put this out, and I'm sure a lot of their fans will appreciate this. It's got all the value features, that Seiko movement, sapphire crystal. They've gone for the ceramic insert, and they've gone for Luminova again with C3, the best Luminova on the bezel insert there. The case is, really solid, no complaints there for the solidity and the engineering and finishing of the case. And the bracelet, super solid, the best bracelet I have seen from Phoibos, and one of the best bracelets I've seen, in just about any watch I've featured, apart from the higher end Swiss ones. Certainly better than any of the standard Seiko offerings here. What are the weaknesses I have noticed? Well, okay, firstly, I'll say this is neither a objective weakness. I'm just going to state that the weight is 193 grams adjusted. I've taken out about 6 of these links, and so if you have a larger wrist, it will be over 200 grams. That is substantial, right? That's something you need to keep in mind. Right, other things that have been a gripe, well, if you look at where the minute markings are on the watch, it's on the flange, and it's pretty dark, right? It's quite hard to see, not very easy to see, and that can be a bit of an annoying thing if you're really trying to get that minute hand on the spot when you're adjusting the time. That's not the easiest to see. Maybe this watch, perhaps would have been better served with a chapter ring. Who knows? That may be a preference, but that's the design style they've gone for, and the printing with the black on that dark green, not very easy to see. It's relatively poor visibility. The hour markings, honestly, I think it could be larger. So I'm just going to grab my Invicta, one of the Invicta Pro divers that I have on hand here, okay? So this is a two-tone gold and black version. if you look at the hour markers, right, this one, you know, nicely has applied hour markers as well. It's hard to see, but you know, you can appreciate they're about the same. The circles are about the same. I think in hand, the Invicta markers are actually slightly larger. Now, this is a 40mm watch. It's substantially smaller. I think proportionally, the hour markings could do with a bit of a larger size here. That's my subjective opinion. I think they just look disproportionately small, and that's just my I guess my preference. You know, let me know what you think about that in particular. And then I would say the bezel, right, whilst the performance is all right, I think the actual alignment is slightly off. So let me see. Right, that's not quite at the 12 o'clock position, right? You can see that. Now I'm going to turn it one more step. Right, that's, yeah, it might be a little bit hard for me to translate there, but I think that's slightly past. So it doesn't quite sit right, you know, in my view, in my subjective view here. That's a QC issue, you know, again with that 6 o'clock applied marker there. There's a couple of minor QC issues here that I've noticed. And then bracelet wise, well, you know, whilst, you know, I've said how nice this is, the screws and you know, positively they've gone for screw links. The links are on the screws on the links are a little bit small, you know. Let me just show you if you can appreciate. I'm not sure if that will come through. If you can see the screw heads there, they're actually quite small. And as a result of that, I first tried to push it because I assumed it was push pins. It's not. And then I got my screwdriver, my smallest one, to try to open that. Because I had pushed it, I probably had damaged the threads a bit. And then these became very tight and I have mangled the head there. That's basically destroyed. To remove that link, I'm going to have to drill this out. Fortunately, I can leave that on because that suits my size, but just beware, it's screw, not pin, not push pin, and you want to be careful. Just be gentle in taking the screws out if you're going to do it yourself. You know, that's something that can be a bit of a gripe for some people. You know, good on them for putting in screw links, but you know, it's a bit fragile, so that's something unfortunately that I've fallen into the trap for. And then lastly, I'll say this bracelet, right, it's really quite square. If you look at the surfaces, right, they're actually flat rectangles, you know, angled on the side there, you know, this kind of like polygonal surfaces. If you look at the case, well, whilst the finishing is consistent, the case has no straight lines. The case is all curves, and that transition is a little bit jarring. You know, it's almost as if it's a third-party slap-on. You know, there's a little bit of a different aesthetic there. So not everybody will like that. Of course, you know, a watch like this, you can easily take off the bracelet and swap it out for you know, third-party straps, NATOs, what have you. But that's just something stylistically I think it's not entirely consistent throughout the watch. So guys, that's the watch. That's the review of this Wavemaster. I've said a lot, you know, and I really appreciate that they put out an original design. Let me know what you think. I'm certainly not the earliest review of this. There's a lot of reviews on this already and opinions out there, but I'd love to hear what you think on my take of this. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. I put out new content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.